Okay, we have been looking at Revelation, the book, and powerful prophetic book it is. Of course, probably one of the most powerful prophetic books in the Bible. And we had started chapter 1, and we have gone chapter by chapter in book of Revelation. And now we just completed the 7 last plagues, which are found in Revelation chapter 16. And now we're looking at Revelation 17. And today we're going to see the judgment upon what the Bible describes as the great whore, the judgment upon the great whore. And we're going to see the development of this great whore, and we're going to see how it develops and how it is destroyed at the end, how it's destroyed. And Revelation 17, of course, coming between Revelation 16 and 18 in the Bible. Revelation 18 is going to show us the message again of the 144,000, the final message, which also was shown in Revelation chapter 14. And again, I just want to bring out a couple of points with regard to Bible prophecy, especially when we're looking at books like Isaiah or Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and here Revelation. Many times, the prophet in each case, in this case, Yachanan, otherwise known as John, in each case, the prophet is given information from the Most High. And that information, as we see in Revelation chapter 1, that information is coming from the Most High through Yahushua, the Messiah, to an angel, and then finally, well, not finally, and then to the prophet, and the prophet is going to spread that information to the Most High's people on the earth. Okay, and oftentimes repeats the same information to the prophet. And when he repeats the information, sometimes, all the time, he gives different angles. So the prophet is looking at the same information from different angles and seeing it in different ways. And so here in Revelation chapter 17, we are seeing the development of the beast power that is shown in Revelation chapter 13. Okay, and it also is shown in Revelation chapter 12. And you can see how it's shown in those chapters because it's the same description of the beast. Now, we'll look at that as we go through it. But just some points, as we've already discussed, that are going to come up here. A beast represents what in the Bible? Represents what? We have to, and it's good to remember this because you'll see the word beast and people get carried away with what a beast is. It's really good to know what a beast is in the Bible so you don't get confused. But what is a beast in the Bible prophecy? Yes, it's a government or a kingdom. Very good. So we look at Daniel chapter 7. We start to see beasts in Daniel chapter 7. And we know as we study that Daniel and Revelation are forever connected, very closely connected. And so in Daniel chapter 7, Daniel sees 4 beasts. And it's good for us to start there as we're looking at Revelation 17 tonight. And we'll see what a beast represents, and we'll see 4 beasts, which we will see again tonight in Revelation chapter 17 as we're looking at Daniel 7. So let's look at Daniel chapter 7. And the first thing, I'm going to answer the question that I asked, what is a beast in Bible prophecy? Daniel chapter 7, verse 17, Daniel 7, verse 17 and 18. Notice what the scripture says about beasts in Daniel 7, verse 17 and 18. The scripture says, these great beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. I wanted to read that second part because that is a very important point for us to know here. On the earth, the beast powers dominate. They dominate the earth in every respect. But there's one group of people they never dominate, not completely. And when I say dominate, I don't mean they don't persecute them, which they do, or put them in jail, which they do, or kill them, which they do. When I mean dominate, I mean control the mind and will of the people. See, in this earth in which we live, I think we can easily see powers in the world that control minds of the common people. And I'll give you an example. An example of that is the television. The television and the news media and the media in general. They control the mind of the common people. They project images, powerful images, that are the mind of human beings receive. In those images, they are dictating to the people what they should believe, how they should feel, what they should think. Okay? They do it through radio, newspapers, internet, television, movies, music. Okay? They do it through, and then they add to that drugs, hallucinogenic drugs that are found, not just the illegal variety, which we know of as things like heroin or marijuana or cocaine, but the other variety, what the Bible calls pharmacia, or it's called sorcery, which we know to be pills from the pharmaceutical industry that control people. People think they are putting certain diseases that are afflicting them under control, but what they are doing is putting their mind under the control of the powers that be by these different pharmaceutical drugs. Not only that, there are also television commercials, and of course, with regard to drugs, sorcery is done through television commercials and television, as well as drugs, hallucinogenic and controlling drugs that are placed in the foods that people eat. Okay, there is different types of steroids and high fructose corn syrup and excitotoxins and different types of toxins and poisons that are placed in the foods that people eat to make you grossly overweight, or to make you sick in some other kind of way, or to make you addicted to certain things that you find yourself having to eat, like flesh, meat, and blood. They are put stuff into hamburgers. I'll just use that as an example, or hot dogs, which a hamburger and a hot dog is an unclean meat to any follower of the Most High and of His Word. The Bible tells us that one thing we should never eat is blood. Let's look at that real quick, just as an example. Leviticus chapter 17. One thing we should never eat. I said, well, that's Old Testament. It's also in Acts chapter 15, as we will see. So let's look at Leviticus chapter 17 first. Leviticus chapter 17. I'm going to be reading Leviticus 17. I'm going to read from verse 10 down to Leviticus 17 from verse 10 to 14 as an example. Thank you, sister. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people, for the life of the flesh. And I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. It is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said to the children of Israel, ye shall eat no manner of flesh for the life of all. Ye shall eat ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. So I want you to see, he stressed it to the children of Israel, but he also said strangers that sojourn among you. So, and then of course, this is a repetition of what was told to mankind, to Noah, in the book of Genesis, that when they got off the ark, he gave them all animals to eat, because there was no food. He gave them all animals to eat, but he stressed, do not eat the blood of any animal. Do not eat the blood. He said they will cut off the man that eats the blood. And this was before Abraham, as Noah is the father of Abraham, the progenitor of Abraham. This is before Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, before the children of Israel. As they came off the boat from the flood, they were not to eat any blood. Okay, so that is a very strong from the Most High, and he says that he will bring forth judgment. Again, let's look at Genesis chapter 9. Genesis chapter 9. Genesis 9. I'm going to read from verse 3, down to verse 6. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, ye shall not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of Yahweh made he man. So he tells them again, they're not to eat blood. So now, that being said, the hamburger, I'm going to use that as an example, is made of what they call chopped meat. Chopped meat is just leftover. Most times it's cow, but it could be any grindings of any animal, and they grind it up in machines with the blood and the leftover flesh. It comes together in what we call chopped meat. And generally speaking, in the Bible, when the animal is killed, its blood is drained immediately, and the meat is boiled before it is eaten, so that all the blood is out of it. But in the case of the hamburger, when you cook it, you're just frying flesh and blood. You can never get it out because it's all ground together. The same with a hot dog. And so it doesn't matter if it's a beef hot dog or a beef hamburger or a turkey one or a chicken one. It's the same thing. It's ground up blood and guts of the animal. And so people that are eating these things are eating blood. And we've already read what the Most High feels about that. And so they are bringing a curse upon themselves, and there's a reason he tells us not to eat blood. If you want an animal to really go crazy, feed it blood. That's what we were always taught when we raised dogs. If you wanted to raise a dog to be mean, feed it flesh with blood, and it will get really mean. And that's why one of the reasons people are also getting sick, because he said a curse is upon people that eat blood, and people are eating the blood in animals every day, all the time, not even thinking twice about it, because this is how we're taught in this society. So places like McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's that serve these burgers, they're serving people blood, and people are addicted to it because they have to eat these things every day because of it. So the sorcery, the drugs and the pharmakia, the illegal drugs are controlling the minds of people in various ways, of course, in various ways. And so these beasts are kingdoms, and the beast we're going to be reading about is a kingdom today, and their governments, and they control the minds of the people, except for one group of people. There is one group of people whose minds they can't control. And those are the people that belong to the Most High Yah. And at the end of time where we live right now, 44,000 and those that are with them. Now, obviously, we just read about blood. So if the 144,000 are minds that cannot be controlled by the beast and the devil, obviously one basic thing we know about them is they're not eating blood, are they? They're not eating blood. They may have used to eat blood, but they have been redeemed from their sin. So that when they come to the consciousness of the Spirit of the Most High Yah, they stop eating blood. Okay? They stop eating blood, nor anything that the Most High does not want them to place in their body. Praise the Most High for His Spirit. So the saints in these last days that's going to possess the kingdom is a representation of the 144,000 and those with their message, and that leave the controlling powers of the earth. And so let's look at these four beasts that Daniel saw, because they're going to play a role as we are Revelation 17 today. Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 7 of Daniel chapter 7. Daniel 7 from verse 1 down to verse 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters, and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. It had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads given to it. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Let's stop right here. So Daniel sees 4 beasts, and we've already seen from verse 17 that they're representing 4 kings, 4 kingdoms. If you look it up in the Hebrew, is representing of a kingdom. When he says kings, not an individual man, but a kingdom, country, government. And so here we have 4, and these 4 follow the same 4. Again, Daniel, being a prophet, receives the same information he had received before, but he gets more insight now. This information about 4 beasts was shown in Daniel 2 with regard to 4 different metals that were shown. 4 metals. And Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which Daniel also interpreted for him. In Daniel 2, you see 4 metals. You see gold, silver, brass, and iron. You see them placed in a great statue, a great image. And Daniel was told that they are representing successive kingdoms, 4. And here again, in Daniel 7, you see 4 kingdoms, and it does tell you that the beast represents kingdoms. And so we see again 4 kingdoms. And then we're going to notice in Daniel 8, they're going to show the last 3 of these kingdoms. Daniel chapter 8, we're going to look at that briefly. And then it's repeated again. And then in Daniel 8, it tells you again plainly what these kingdoms are. Daniel chapter 2, we saw that the head of gold was the kingdom of Babylon. Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 2 that Babylon is the first kingdom that the Most High was talking about. And then after that, he said there will be another kingdom that's inferior to Nebuchadnezzar that will come secondly, and a third kingdom of brass and a fourth kingdom of iron. So Babylon was the first kingdom. We know also after Babylon came Medes and the Persians. After the Medes and the Persians came the Greek Empire. And after the Greek Empire came finally the Roman Empire. And so we see here in Daniel chapter 7, these 4 are represented. The first one in verse 4, the lion, was the Babylonian Empire. The second one in verse 5, like a bear, was the Media-Persian Empire. The third one, like a leopard that had 4 heads, was the Greek Empire. And then the fourth one, a beast. And it's interesting in that fourth one, talking about Rome, that he calls it a beast, which is an animal, like generally a wild animal. That's a beast. But Rome is a wild animal like no other animal, because it cannot be described the way the other 3 can be described. Like Babylon is a lion, Media Persia is a bear, is a leopard, but Rome cannot be described. It said it's different from all the other animals. And it's stomped and break in pieces. And again, it had great iron teeth. And in Daniel, it's represented as iron. And if you notice in Daniel, it starts off with gold, goes to silver and brass and iron, which is in human terms, the value. Gold is the most valuable, followed by silver, followed by brass, followed by iron, which is base metal. Iron is the hardest, and it's the cheapest of the 4. And so here you have the worst one, the hardest one, the most ruthless one is Rome. Okay? And for the last 2,000 years, we have seen, for 2,000 years, the powers of Rome in various forms. And we're going to talk about that as we continue in these prophecies. So 4 beasts, 4 kingdoms. Then we saw out of the 4th beast, there was some interesting developments. And let's look at this. Daniel chapter 7. Daniel 7 and verse 8. Daniel 7 and verse 8, talking about the 4th beast. It said, I considered the horns. Remember, the 4th beast had 10 horns on his head. One head with 10 horns on it, the 4th beast. Okay, so let's look at Daniel 7 verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. So in Daniel chapter 8, out of that 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly with iron teeth, came a little horn that was among the 10 horns. And this little horn knocked down 3 of them and took over. And so Daniel was very interested, as we would be, to know about this little horn that spoke very great things. And let's look at this in Daniel chapter 7. It explains it. We don't even have to guess. Notice Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to read again from verse 17 down to verse 22. Actually, down to verse 23. These great beasts, which are 4, are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then, Daniel says, I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass. I would break in pieces and stamp the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and the mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. We're going to read verse now. So it's telling us, let's stop right here for a minute. It's telling us, obviously, that this 4th kingdom, dreadful and terrible, out of it came forth a little horn that spoke very great things, was more stout, stronger than the rest of them. And the horn that came up, that spoke very great things, that was more stout or stronger than the rest of his companions, with the saints of the Most High Yah, and prevailed against the saints of the Most High Yah. And the Bible says that this 4th beast, out of which this horn came, shall devour the whole earth, and be different from all the kingdoms, and shall tread down and break in pieces the whole earth. Okay? All right, so now let's continue, because it's going to tell us more about this little horn. Daniel chapter 7, verses 24 and 25. Notice what it says. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time. So out of the Roman Empire would come forth a little horn, a religious power out of the Roman Empire that would devour the whole earth, that would speak great words against the Most High, that would think to change the Most High's laws and the way he counts years. Times means years. Think to change times and laws. Think to change the way years are counted, and think to change the laws of the Most High. And will attack the people of the Most High Yah. Let's break this down. From what we've already studied and from what the scriptures have told us, who are the people of the Most High Yah? Talk to me. Who are the people of the Most High Yah? Who are his people? Who are they? What are those people called? That's right. They're called Israel, or Yashar Al. Yashar Al. Israel, named after Jacob, who was changed his name to Israel, which means right with the Most High, or Prince of the Most High. Okay? So the people that are descendants of Israel are his chosen people. Of course, we must clarify, these are not the Jews that we're looking at today in 2016 that occupy a space called the State of Israel, whose origins come from Eastern Europe, Russia, Germany, Poland, Bulgaria, Khazaria, Ashkenaz. Those are the children of Japhet. They're not Semites at all. And their created religion, Judaism, is a derivative of the Most High Yah's teachings and not the exact teachings. They have a book called the Talmud that's made up of their spiritualistic and pagan ways that they really follow. But the true Israelites have been kicked off the land and dispersed throughout the earth because of their disobedience to the Most High, as we have read in Deuteronomy, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and other places. And those Israelites in the United States of America, by blood, they'd be looked at as Negroes, and they're on all the islands, Caribbean, Central America, and Indians, as the Taino Indians, Indians that have been in America also, South America, Central America, Africa, spread throughout the earth. These are your Hebrews. These are your Israelites. And those that are grafted in among them. Remember we read where he said, ye shall eat no manner of blood, neither the stranger that sojourneth among you. So there are people that sojourn among the Israelites that trust the Most High Yah, like the Israelites, that are not Israelites by blood, but by faith through the Mashiach, Messiah, Yahushua. They are Israelites by faith. So the Bible says, Israel shall be saved by faith, and the Gentiles shall be saved through faith. So that the Gentiles come into the knowledge of the Most High Yah through Israel. That's why Christianity is not Israel. The word Christianity does not exist in the King James Bible. You will not find the word Christianity. You will only find the word Christian 3 times. That is used in a negative context. It is a pagan word. The Bible called the followers of the Messiah disciples. He said, you are my disciples. He didn't say you're my Christians. He said, you are my disciples. And so the disciples, those that, and disciple means one who surrenders himself to the discipline of a teacher. That's a disciple. You surrender yourself to the discipline and be an understudy and be a student of a teacher. So as disciples of the Mashiach, we are being taught through the Mashiach the ways of the Most High Yah by his example and his words. And we become disciples of Yahshua, Yahushua, otherwise known as Yeshaya. Some call him Yahushua. That's cool. We don't have any issue with that. His name is called by pagans, and those that don't know any better, Jesus Christ. But his true name is Yahushua, his Hebrew name, because he's not a Catholic European with white skin and blue eyes and blonde hair. But what he is a Hebrew, man of color from the Middle East of the tribe of Judah. That is the Mashiach, Yahushua. And so he is our teacher. And he sends forth the spirit of his Father, the Holy Ghost, to guide and teach us of the Father. He inspires prophets who wrote words called the Bible to teach us the commandments, statutes, and judgments of the Most High Yah, and to guide us and strengthen us to be obedient to his word by his spirit. These are the saints. They were the saints in Daniel's time, and they're the saints in our time. See, we have gotten confused because people see during the last 2,000 years the European man, who happens to be the founder of the Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church, as well as the Greeks, as well as the Medes and the Persians, dominate the earth in these last days. And so children of the Japhet of European descent have dominated the earth for 2,000 years to such a degree that they begin to think that any person of any value of history must be also European. They've made themselves into gods. And so they painted Messiah as white Jesus. They paint the Most High Yah as white Lord God. They call him God, Dios. They created their own religion, Christianity. And they push, and they also, in all fairness, it was a European that was used to create and translate. To translate, I shouldn't say create, but to translate the words of Hebrew into what we know as the King James Bible. Okay? So they have dominated the planet for the last 2,000 years. They are not the original Hebrews. They are not the original Israelites. Those among them that are Hebrew and Israelites are so by faith through the same Mashiach. But most of them are pagan in origin and pagan in their ways even now. And so Christianity is filled with paganism. The worship of idols in some Christian circles, Catholic, the worship of idols, the worship of the sun god, in most where they keep Sunday, Sunday, venerable day of the sun, the putting away of Yah's commandments. And then there are others that create their own denomination, 501c3 corporations run by men from Europe. And even some of them, they try to keep the Sabbath and keep the commandments, but really because they're creating this other God called the denominational church, they can't. So they keep falling prone to their ancient pagan ways. But the Israel of the Most High is not following any 501c3 denomination. They're a nation. They're not a denominated people. They are a nation of 12 tribes scattered throughout the earth. And so, as we look at Daniel, we see these 4 kingdoms that arise. Now, and we see this little horn that arises, that's the Roman Catholic Church coming out of Rome that thinks to change times and laws. So let's talk about that for a minute. The Roman Catholic Church thought to change times. Let's talk about the times, the years they have changed. Now, I just want to, before we continue in that part of the discussion, I don't want anyone to think that the 7 days of the week have been changed. The names of the 7 days have been changed, but 7 days made a week when Yah created the earth through Mashiach Yahushua in Genesis. And 7 days still makes a week today. So that hasn't changed. Okay? Well, what has? The Most High told Moses, Israel, on the night of the 7th plague that were falling, of the 7 last plagues that fell upon Egypt, the 7th plague being the death of the firstborn. He told Moses in the book of Exodus that that was going to be the beginning of the year. That the deliverance, the night of deliverance that they were experiencing was going to be the first month of the year for them. That happens in the spring. So in the springtime is the first month of the year. Okay? So that would be March or April, between March and April, what we call March and April, the first month of the year. That's the first month of the Hebrew year. And the Hebrew year goes by phases of the moon. So every new moon is a new month. So the moon goes through phases. It starts off as a crescent. That's the beginning. And then it's a light that goes across the moon. And then it becomes a full moon. That's your middle of the month. Part comes where the crescent on the left. And then it goes all the way till it's completely dark. And that's the end of the month. That's how a Hebrew month is. Actually, the Muslims do the same thing. From crescent all the way to when it's completely dark, that's your month. That's how the Most High counted months, the lunar calendar, because the evening and the morning, he said in Genesis, were a day. Evening and morning. Okay, that was a day. So because night was first, black was first, then came light. So evening and morning is a day. But pagans don't do it that way. First off, pagans start their year in what we call January. In fact, all the months of the year are named by pagans from the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar is from Pope Gregory, a Roman Catholic pope, and he created this calendar. And it's named after Roman Catholic gods. Okay? Different Roman Catholic gods. They are also named after their gods, which are the planets. They worship the sun, moon, stars. So Sunday. And then you have Monday, which in Spanish, lunes, lunar, moon, right? And it continues on till you get to Sabado, which is Saturn, Saturday. They worship sun, moon, stars. And you remember what the Most High instructed his people in the book of Deuteronomy with regard to these things. Let's take a look at that. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4. Notice what the Most High instructed his people, Israel, the saints, with regard to these things. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'm going to read Deuteronomy 4. I'm going to begin at verse, let's see. I'm going to begin at verse 11. And I'm going to read down to verse 19. Yes. From 11 to 19. Actually, from 11 down to 20. Notice what it says. Deuteronomy chapter 4, from verse 11 down to verse 20. Watch very carefully as we read the scriptures of his instructions to his saints. Notice what it said. And ye came near and stood under the mountain. Talk about when they were at Mount Sinai. And the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And Yahweh spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And Yahweh commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yahweh sent unto you in Oreb fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, and shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahweh thy most high hath divided among all nations under the whole heaven. But Yahweh hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. Israel is his inheritance. And he commanded them not to worship anything. And he specifically talked about animals and stars and planets, sun, moon, stars. And the complete opposite of this, the devil, through Rome, has created days after these worship objects. Sunday through Saturday. And of course, months also. And they start their year, the Gregorian calendar's year starts on January 1st, in the middle of winter. In the middle of winter. The Most High's year starts in the beginning of spring, which makes more sense. Things are new, the trees are budding, it's getting warmer, winter is past. That is a time of renewal. But Rome does things its way. And so the whole earth celebrates New Year's on January 1st. The whole earth does that. And instead of it being at sunset, a new day, at the even, it is at midnight. In Rome's calendar, midnight, day 12:01, So he thinks to change times. What about laws? Well, obviously, if you're worshiping planets, you're breaking the covenant of the Most High. If you're keeping Sunday as a holy day, you're breaking the covenant of the Most High. Okay? And the Bible tells us that if you break one point of the covenant, the whole covenant is broken. There are some that think, well, we keep 9 commandments. 10th one was changed. They make up these falsehoods that are not biblically based to try to justify their pagan religion and try to place it on the Most High. They don't worship the God of the Most High the way we do because he doesn't change his covenant. It's forever. And so when people break one of the points of the covenant, they've broken the entire covenant and are transgressors. So the Most High has the covenant, which we talked about, 10 commandments, and Rome has its own rules. A pope, priests, big buildings, stained glass windows, none of which have anything to do with Yah. And all of the churches of Christianity are basically offshoots or derivatives of the Roman church. They all are. Every single denominational Christian, so-called Christian church. Just offshoots of Rome. Every single one of them, with no exceptions. There are some, well, let me not say some. Most of the Protestant, what's called Protestant churches, started off based on a doctrine from the Bible that went against the doctrines of Rome. They started off that way. Okay, they all broke off. That's why you'll hear people from Rome say, "Oh, you guys should come back to Mother because you all came from us." And Martin Luther is an example of that. His Lutheran church, Catholic church, that broke off because Martin Luther found in the Bible where a person is saved or salvation is given to a person by faith in the blood of the Messiah and not by actions done that Rome dictates, like Hail Marys. Okay, it's by faith in the blood of the Messiah. Salvation is given. And obedience is rendered through faith. It doesn't have it that way. So there was a division because of this justification by faith message. And Luther ended up being excommunicated or kicked out of the Roman church. And then his church became known as Lutheran because the people were following the doctrines that he taught, Luther. All the Protestant churches follow a similar pattern, every single one of them. Some of them keep Sabbath, like the SDA church, they keep Sabbath. They also were made up of people who left the Roman church or various types of Roman churches that kept the Sunday, the sun god. And they developed their denomination, which was really founded in 1863. 1844, a group of people came together from different denominations, different offshoots of Rome. And they were looking for the truth in the Bible. And they were expecting in 1844 to see the Messiah come. They thought Christ was coming. He was not coming. But what they found out instead, which was true, is that he is the high priest in the heavenly sanctuary. That was true. Being though most of them coming from Europe, they couldn't help themselves. And in 1863, they created a denomination called the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And they keep the Sabbath, the seventh day, but they are a 501c3 corporation after the image. And they follow many of the doctrines of Rome. Even some that Rome wouldn't even follow that go against the Bible, like the ordination, or not the ordination, but making women pastors and elders. It's not something that Most High Yah teaches in it, but it's something they practice. And the creation of other that have changed the truth of the Most High's word, taken things out. For example, again, the perfection, Christian or perfection of the Spirit that's done through the Most High and by His Spirit of perfect righteousness. They believe you can make this through your works, or you'll never be perfect because of your sin. But that's again against the word of the Most High. God denies the power of His Spirit to make perfection in every believer, and among their other things. So again, offshoots of Rome, and all of these churches give honor to the Pope of Rome. They give honor to the Pope of Rome, both verbally, physically, and in things that they teach. They give honor to the Pope of Rome. So all of the denominational Christian churches are just offshoots of the Roman Church. And the Roman Church attacks the Most High's chosen people. Anyone that will be obedient to the covenant and follow the doctrine of justification by faith, which is the doctrine of perfection given by faith in perfect righteousness of the Most High. The doctrine of that righteousness given as a gift, given to us through the Messiah, Yahushua, is the doctrine of perfection that's offered as a gift. So the Most High perfects us by faith. It's called justification by faith, being justified or declared innocent of all your guilt. All of us are guilty of sin. But because of the death of the Messiah on our behalf, His blood, when we confess our sin of the breaking of the covenant of the Most High, He forgives us because He put on the Messiah the sins of the people. And through that same Messiah, He baptizes us in the Spirit, which is the Spirit of perfect righteousness, which causes us to keep His commandments, statutes, and judgments, as Ezekiel shows us. Okay, so Rome fights against anyone that would believe what I just said, be the saints of the Most High Yah of Israel. Those that trust in the justification of the blood of the Messiah and perfect righteousness, and keep the commandments of the Most High in His covenant. Those are the people of Israel. Those are the ones Rome hates. Those are the ones it will attack and is attacking. Which is why it ends up being, see, if you have a denomination, a 501c3 corporation, not only are you already given over to Rome, but you're easily a target. They infiltrate, they attack, they change that denomination. They've done that to every denomination. They're expert at infiltration, starting with the order of the Jesuits. They are expert at infiltration of all churches, all denominations, all organizations. But the Israel, the true Israel, is scattered, impossible to infiltrate because it's a scattered nation. And the Most High is dealing with them individually. See, people looking for big groups. You're not going to find Israel as a big group in terms of an organized religion. It's not going to be that way. The Bible continually describes them as scattered. Scattered abroad. So here in Daniel 7, you have 4 beasts: Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. You have the little horn, which rose up from among the 10 horns and knocked down 3. The Roman Catholic Church rise up and knock down 3 powers in Europe out of 10. And the beast was made up of, and these beasts are made up of different animals. And we see a lion, a bear, a leopard, and then an animal that's not named, a beast that's not named. So here we see the different heads. I just want to add this together because in these last days, I'm going to cut to the chase as much as I can. There's a lot of information here. But in these last days, the government power, the kingdom power that's made up is a conglomeration or a mixture of all of these. We'll show you how. But I just want to, in fact, let me show you how right now. Let's look at it. Daniel, let's hold our finger in Daniel 7. And let's go to Revelation 13, which we've already covered. But it's, now that we're in 17, we have to touch base in 13 again. Revelation 13, and let's take a look. Revelation 13, verses 1 and 2, actually 1, 2, 3, and 4. Revelation 13, verses 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice what it says. The sand of the sea, And I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So this beast is made up of a leopard, a lion, and a bear. And as we saw in Daniel 7, there were 4 beasts. The first three were lion, bear, and leopard. So you can see that Revelation 13 is a conglomeration of what we saw in Daniel 7. It's a combination of all of these beasts. And so that's why it also had 7 heads. Let's take a look at the 7 heads, where they come from. Well, in Daniel chapter 7, in verse 4, the first beast, Babylon, was like a lion, had 1 head. The second beast, a bear, had 1 head, Media Persia. Beast, a leopard, had 4 heads. And then the fourth one had 1 head, but it had 10 horns on its head. When you add up the totality of the heads of these 4 beasts, it adds up to 7 heads. 1 for Babylon, 1 for Media Persia, 4 for Greece, and 1 for Rome. So that's 7. That's why this beast in Revelation chapter 13 had 7 heads. Also, it had 10 horns, which we originally saw. Originally, it had 10 horns. We saw that the little horn plucked up 3, which would leave horns, which we see in Revelation chapter 12. Notice Revelation chapter 12 as describing the great red dragon. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3 and 4. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3 and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on his heads. In Revelation 13, it had 7 heads and 10 horns, and 10 crowns, and the crowns were on the horns. So in Revelation 12, the crowns were on the heads. In Revelation 13, the crowns were on the horns. Why is that? Well, you had crowns on the heads, and because you're dealing with the Roman Empire, with all of the conglomeration. But in Revelation 13, you're dealing not with the Roman Empire, you're dealing with Rome as a object of worship that controls a government. Revelation 17, and it shares power with 10 horns, or 10 points of power. It's based on the 7 heads, but it shares power with 10. So we see, let's break this down because it can be confusing. In Daniel chapter 7, we saw the 10 horns. We saw the little horn knock down 3 of them. So in order to come to power, the Roman Catholic Church had to dispatch 3 of the original 10. But in Revelation, the 10 are restored. In Revelation 17, they're restored, which is part of the healing of Rome. They're restoration of the 10 horns that were originally in the head. Okay, that's the restoration of the 10 horns that were originally in the head. So now we see the Roman Catholic Church, the little horn. A beast is a kingdom or a government. This kingdom thought to change times and laws, which the Roman Church thought to change the laws of the Most High. It says thought to change and the times. You see, this is the thing that's important. The Most High pays no attention to the Gregorian calendar. He's not counting years by the Gregorian calendar. See, we count years by the Gregorian calendar, January to December. The Most High does not. He counts years the way he gave them to Israel. You have to remember that. And the Most High pays no attention to the names of the days that Rome created from Sunday to Saturday, like we do. No, it's the first day of the week, second day of the week, third day of the week, all the way to the sixth day of the week, and then the Sabbath, Shabbat. That's the only one that has a name. First day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, Shabbat, which is the seventh day, Sabbath. Okay? That's the way the Most High looks at it. He doesn't look at it. That's why when he says they think the change, they might think the change in terms of the earth, people in the earth following that foolish, but not the Most High Yah, and not his Israelite people. We follow a different set of laws. We follow the covenant. And we'll follow Rome's laws as long as they don't interfere with the Most High's laws. And this again brings us to where we are today. The situation is developing to the point that Rome and the powers that Rome controls, which are all the nations of the earth, Rome, as we're going to see in Revelation 17, is going to push the situation so that earth, whose minds and whose wills are being controlled by Rome, are going to be led, disregard the covenant of the Most High by a law. Those whose minds are given over to the Most High, over to the Most High, obey this law. So it's where there's going to be a conflict, a legal conflict, where the powers of the earth are going to create. People are breaking the covenant of the Most High by their own choice, with no laws. There's no law that says, for example, you got to keep Sunday holy, but people do it. They break the Most High's covenant. There's no law that says you have to eat blood, but people do it. They break the Most High's covenant. They break his laws. And in many other ways, they break his laws voluntarily, but not Israel. Israelites will not break his laws. They will keep his covenant. They will not eat blood. They will keep the seventh-day Sabbath. They would not be involved with Rome or 501c3 corporations masquerading as Christian churches. No, they'll be obedient to the Most High. They'll be scattered, as the Bible says they will. But the laws are going to change so that there's going to be a conflict between the laws of Yah and the laws of man. And we saw this in the Bible already in Daniel chapter 3. In Daniel chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar, who was the head of Babylon, created an image of gold. The dream he was shown. And he told all his people to worship this image. And whoever was not going to worship the image would be killed. The Hebrews, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, refused to bow to the golden image on pain of death. They would rather suffer death than be disobedient to the covenant of the Most High. Here they were, their land, they were in a foreign land, they were captives in Babylon. And the Babylonian king created a law that said you have to worship this image or die. And they chose death. Of course, we know the story. The Bible tells us they were delivered by the Messiah, the Son of the Most High. They were delivered from the fiery furnace. What will happen in these lands? There will be laws changed. Laws are already being changed. And the laws will cause people to break the commandments of the Most High, break his covenant purposely. Not for the majority of the earth because they're already doing it, but to the people that are his, that are obedient to his law, to his covenant, that will not give their wills and their minds over to the sorceries of Rome. And many that walk with the people of Most High, many of his saints will defect and go to the other side. But there'll be a remnant of the seed of Israel who will refuse, just like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They will refuse to worship other gods, to break the covenant of the Most High. Wanted to be killed. But they'll be delivered. turn to Revelation 17. And let's look at Revelation 17. I gave all that other stuff as just backdrop to Revelation 17 as we're going into Revelation 17. And we're going to talk about the great whore. Revelation chapter 17, going to read from verse 1, 3. Revelation 17 from verse 1 down to verse 3. And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore, that sitteth, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Let's stop right here. So, brothers and sisters, Yakanan, or John, was told he was an entity called the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The Bible tells us that the waters in Revelation 17, verse 15, and he said unto me, saw us where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So the whore, a woman, sits upon a beast and rides upon the beast and upon peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Remember, Rome shall devour the whole earth. A woman is represented as a church or a called out people. The Israelite woman, chapter 12, was called out of the bondage of Egypt and called out of bondage in our day. Israelites are called out of bondage, called out of the bondage of sin and paganism and the worship of falsehoods. They're called out from that to worship the Most High Yah and keep his covenant and his statutes and judgments. They're called out by the death and resurrection and high priestly ministry of the Messiah. The death and resurrection and high priestly ministry of the Messiah. The spirit of the Most High Yah through that Messiah. From paganism, from falsehood, from idolatry. You see, brothers and sisters, a breaking of the commandments of the Most High is spiritually called adultery. So that if you worship another God, you're committing fornication against the Most High. If you break the Sabbath, you're committing fornication against the Most High. If you steal, you're committing fornication against the Most High. Spiritually speaking, when you break the covenant, you're being unfaithful to the Most High Yah. Therefore, you are committing fornication. Adultery is a breaking basically of the commandments. And that's so when a person is married to a woman, a man married to a woman, that woman gives her body to another man, or that man gives himself to a harlot. Adultery or fornication. They are breaking the whole covenant. So the people and kings of the earth, or the kingdoms, the nations of the earth are committing fornication with this great whore. This great whore was not called out from bondage of paganism. The great whore was called out from obedience. See, the Most High's woman, Israel, was called out of bondage. The whore, though, is called into bondage, bondage of sin. The Most High's woman is obedient to the covenant. The whore is disobedient to the covenant. She has her own agreement. It has nothing to do with the Most High Yah. And so here in this point, you can see 2 groups of people on the earth. Those that are obedient to the covenant, the woman that belong to the Most High Yah, and those that are disobedient to the covenant, that are in bondage to sin and follow the whore. So here, this woman is a representation of a church. As Ephesians tell us, a wife is a church, but this woman is a whore. She sleeps with a lot of different men. You see in the Bible, brothers and sisters, a woman is obligated to to have sex with only one man, her husband. That's it. She is not to have sex with a whole bunch of different men. In today's day and age, women are the so-called women's liberation. Women are having sex with multiple partners. That's after the manner of a whore. Okay, a lot of nice ladies. A lot of ladies mean well. They don't mean to give their bodies to different men at different times. A woman may have a lover at one point of the year or more than one. She may break up with that guy and have another one. Have another one, and another one, and another one. Looking for the right one, but not understanding she's playing the whore in the meantime. That's how the devil has our minds all screwed up. No pun intended. Women playing the whore. So this woman here is a whore. She sleeps with different men, and the kings of the earth, or the kingdoms, spiritually speaking, are who she gets in bed with. And so she creates her own. She has her own covenant, as the Roman Church has its own set of laws. And all these, so you have the Roman Catholic one, that's the queen of the whores, the madam, if you will, and then all whores in her house. Baptist variety, the Pentecostal variety, the Lutheran variety, the Episcopal variety, SDA variety, the Jehovah's Witness variety, the Mormon variety, all different whores. All different. If they were the same church, they'd be one, but they're not. They're all different. Like you might have a woman with red hair, and a woman with blonde hair, and a woman with black hair. You might have a woman that's light chocolate, dark chocolate. You might have a woman that's very fair skinned. You get the point. They're all different. Okay? They're all different. But they were all whores in the great madam's house. And let the Bible show us that. So here, this whore that runs everything, she commits fornication with the kings of the earth. She sits on this beast, and the beast that she sits on has 7 heads and 10 horns. It's the same beast. It's a conglomeration of all the kingdoms of the past. So this Roman church sits on principles of kingdoms past, ancient Babylonian worship. Babylonian worship also includes worship of Egyptian origins as well, because Ham is the father of Nimrod, who founded Babylon. He's also the father of Mizraim, from which you get Egypt. Egypt is Mizraim. And this whore follows the worship of all of them, which you get sun worship. And that's why you see the Pope, he'll have Egyptian symbol of a cross. It's not the cross, a regular cross, it's an Egyptian symbol of a cross. He has that. He has a fish hat on, which is from the Canaanites, and the worship of Dagon, which is from the Philistines, all of that. Has different things. They have them conglomeration of different religions from different times, different pagan religions. Okay? They worship the dead. All of these conglomeration of pagan religions of times past. And they're illustrated in the 7 heads: Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Okay? So now you have this government, so that the woman, this church, this called out church, called out to sin, is in control of a government. A beast. And this government is the conglomeration of what we just talked about. It's a conglomeration of all these kingdoms of the past. And Roman church, the Roman Catholic Church, is not only a church, a religious entity, but it is also a government. The Vatican City in 1929 to be its own country by Mussolini. Mussolini was then the dictator of Italy. Mussolini, being an undercover Roman Catholic himself, a Jesuit himself, to the Vatican City to be its own country. So that now in 2016, you have the Vatican, which is a country as well. So the Pope is the head of his church, 1 billion people of the Roman Catholic variety, 1 billion people, they estimate, around the earth are Roman Catholics. And he's not only the head of his church, but he's the head of his state, which is the Vatican. Which is why you have ambassadors to the Vatican from every country, and from the Vatican to every country, because they're their own country. So you have in this place church and state united in the Vatican City. Church and state united. The Roman Church is a church, and it's the head of a state as well. It's a state as well. The only country on earth like that for now. So you have church and state united in the Roman Church. So this woman is riding the beast, so she's riding a government. From Rome, are controlled. You all hear, and you do hear, of all the various organizations around the earth. For example, the Illuminati is controlled by the Jesuits of Rome. The Scottish Rite of Freemasons is controlled by the Jesuits of Rome. They may not even know it, but they're all under control of Rome. Along with all the Christian churches, along with all the governments, along with the United States Supreme Court, controlled by the Jesuits of Rome. 6 of the 9 are Roman Catholic. And the other 3 are Jewish, Ashkenaz, and they work together. The Jews and the Roman Catholic Church work together. They work together. They want you to think they're 2 different people on opposite sides or whatever, but the Jews only consider Rome in terms of Christianity. The Jews don't consider any other thing Christian. They consider Rome Christian. And they basically look for Rome for their dictates. So when Rome said, we forgive you for killing Jesus, they take that as coming from Christianity. That's what the Pope said. Okay? They give honor to the Pope. It's all a front when they want you to think that they're on 2 different sides when they're working together. Okay, so here, Revelation chapter 17, we have verse 3. Verse 3, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Please note that John was carried away into the wilderness, so that this woman is controlling this beast in the wilderness. What does that mean? It's in secret. In other words, it's not open that the Pope and the Roman Church control all the kingdoms of the earth. It's in secret. Bible is exposing the secret, but most people don't see it. So they see this man flying around his private jet in all white and waving his hand in the sign of a cross and so-called blessing everyone. Millions of people, millions and millions of people giving him honor. They don't know they're worshiping the dragon. But they don't know also that he controls all the kingdoms and governments of the earth. It's not just a religious thing, which is the important thing of it, the worship thing, but it's also a government thing, a political thing, a military thing. Most people don't see that, but the Bible is exposing it for us. So she's in the wilderness controlling this beast. In the wilderness. So when you see Revelation 13, you don't see the woman. You just see the beast. But the woman's controlling it. And that's what's showing you that in Revelation 17. She's riding it. You just don't see it. But the Bible exposes it for us. And that's the thing about prophecy. It will consistently, the Bible prophecy will consistently expose things to Israel, to his chosen people, that the rest of the earth will not see. So that if I was to tell people who are not Israelites what I just told you, they won't believe it because they don't see it. The Bible consistently exposes the devil's plans, exposes his game, exposes his lies, exposes everything he's about. It consistently does that for those that want to know. But what happens is people, they're being bamboozled by various things. There's these falsehoods, and in these fantasies and these novel type things that are called history. And they make it into history. For example, I'll give you an example of that. The people came from Europe, destroyed Indians here in North America, destroyed them, and took the land. But they say that Columbus discovered America, right? And they say the Pilgrims came here first when there were Indians already here. That's what I mean. They distort things and call it history. But it's not history. It's falsehood. The Bible exposes all falsehood. It tells you exactly what's happening. Most people will reject it because they want to believe the falsehood. So we celebrate Columbus Day in America because Columbus so-called discovered America when he really didn't. He just came and took Indian slaves back to Europe with him. That's what he did. And then following him were other Europeans that came and killed the Indians that were already on the land. Great nations. Okay? And created what we now have and what prophecy said would become a lamb-like beast, or a country called the United States of America. So here, Revelation 17, this woman is in secret controlling everything. And the devil's controlling her. So the devil is the pimp, the woman is the madam, and all the Christian churches are her whores. We'll stop here tonight and continue in this discussion tomorrow, part 2.